Who dat? Welcome to the podcast you've been waiting for. Great perspective and exclusive interviews.
It's a hard job for those guys because it's happening fast.
The kind of Saints insight and fun commentary you won't get anywhere else.
We've got plenty of technology to speed things up.
It's time to kick off your Been There, Done That Saints podcast, where we hand it off to our host, Mike Neighbors, and Super Bowl winning linebacker, Scott Shanley.
Proud of these guys.
Wow, Saints fans, what a game. Maybe the most improbable win in the Sean Payton era. Welcome to another Been There, Done That podcast. We're going to get to the game. We're going to get to the quarterback situation for the New Orleans Saints, the future of Jameis Winston, and how about that Saints defense? Plus, more likely, and we have a new sponsor. DraftKings Sportsbook is coming soon to Louisiana. How about that? It won't be long until you can bet on all of your favorite sports from the comfort of your own home, Saints fans. To celebrate, DraftKings Sportsbook is giving customers $100 in free bets when you sign up before they go live. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code DONETHATPODCAST when you sign up. Those who sign up right now will get $100 in free bets to use once the mobile sports betting hits Louisiana. That's code DONETHATPODCAST to get $100 in free bets instantly only at DraftKings Sportsbook. And Shanley, we like our Wanna Bet series we've been running on Saints CST coverage. Actually, is your view coverage. So that's the new way of the world, I guess, isn't it, in sports?
It is. It's here. It's making a big impact when you look at the number of states who are passing sports betting. And obviously, as soon as the NFL accepted it, adopted it, it's really going to explode. And I think it's going to trickle all the way down to the players' contracts. It's going to trickle down into a lot of money and a lot of revenue. And I don't think the day's far off, Mike, where there's going to be actual in-game live betting. It's going to pop up on the TV where you can pick run or pass next play or next timeout called by whatever team. So I think sports betting is really going to change the way we watch sports.
I agree. Justin Thomas, have you had any sports wagers lately? Or is this going to change for you now because of the different landscape?
It won't change for me personally. I'm not one who likes to bet. I will say, though, I agree with Scott. I think it's going to change sports in general going forward. There's going to be a lot of local bookies who are probably looking for new jobs with all these big companies coming in now. So, it'll be interesting to see how it changes everything going forward.
Yeah, we appreciate our friends at DraftKings jumping on board. And as I said, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use the code DONETHATPODCAST. You'll get $100 in free bets once they get up and running. All right, Shanley, you played in a lot of great games with Sean Payton. You've covered a lot of great games with Sean Payton. Have you ever seen a game like that under Sean Payton that we saw against the Bucs last Sunday?
There's been a lot of games. I think it was an impressive win because it was so improbable given the circumstances this team was facing. Going into the game, I had no hesitation that the Saints defense would do what they did to Tom Brady and the offense. I really didn't. And it's not because I just saw it done. I've seen it done since Tom Brady's been in Tampa Bay. And it's because our DBs match up well with his skill guys. We can rush the passer. We make him nervous. That's why the Saints defense has had so much success. So that did not surprise me one bit. It wasn't like Tom was playing the Eagles and the Dolphins anymore. The Saints defense is, to me, the best defense in the NFL week in and week out. The surprise to me was how many offensive points we were able to score. It was unbelievable that with all those circumstances, Jameis Winston going down, immediately you thought, wow, if you don't score again, it's going to be hard to win this game. But the offense, Mark Ingram, I got to give Mark credit. He looked like a young Mark. He had juice in those legs. He's going to give this team a lot more than just locker room leadership. So I think offensively, the formula is still there going forward. Run the ball, take care of the football. We have a lot of questions about the quarterback position and wide receiver position, but I think it was one of the most improbable wins in the Sean Payton era.
Has Sean Payton become Tom Brady's kryptonite?
I love Coach Payton. I love Sean, but I don't think he has anything to do with it. I think Dennis Allen is Tom Brady's kryptonite because the defense that he has, like I said, the secondary can match up with those skill guys and play man. The front four and the linebackers can cover those backs and tight ends and get after the quarterback. Tom Brady looked as nervous as I've seen him all year in any game. But again, the Saints defense is not the Eagles defense.
Okay, you saw at the end of the game when Dennis Allen wanted to hug Sean Payton, and he kind of pushed him off a little bit. You know those guys real well. What was the dynamic there? Because Dennis Allen's a pretty buttoned-up guy. at least from a media standpoint, a little bit. I thought that was kind of interesting. You never really see those two do that much on the sidelines.
No, I loved it. They get along great, and there's a big reason why. When Dennis went to Denver, had a really good defense. He was there with the whole Tebow, so he's used to playing where he has to keep teams under 10 points. This is no problem for him having Simeon and Taysom Hill at quarterback. He goes to Denver and has Tebow. He's like, man, we can't let these guys score. It's gonna be hard to win. Then he goes to the Raiders, and I think he got shafted a little bit with the Raiders because they didn't give him enough time as a head coach. And to Sean's credit, he's like, this is a great coach. We brought him up in our organization. We're going to bring him back. He replaced Ryan at defense coordinator, and it's been awesome ever since. Dennis is one of those guys who, when I got there, he was an assistant D-line coach. Then he moved to the secondary, and he was a young guy, but you could tell. We used to talk about as veteran players, man, this guy's going to be a great coach someday. He's so cerebral. He gets along with all the players. He just loves the game, and he's always thinking X's and O's and how to put guys in the best position. And so we always saw it. Dennis has done a great job. I certainly hate to lose him, but he's going to have an opportunity to be a head coach again in the NFL.
Absolutely. I mean, I think people will look at him and say, it was the Raiders, and they kind of give him a pass because that's such a crazy situation. But, yeah, I got to think this may be his last year, and he's definitely deserved it, Shanley.
Oh, certainly. I really thought he was going to get more attention last year, and, especially with Atlanta. I thought Terry Fontenot going to Atlanta, I thought maybe Terry would have hired Dennis. But, again, it's the Atlanta Falcons. They are – as an organization, I don't know if Terry got that call. I think Arthur Blank went and hired the kid, the Arthur Smith. Isn't his dad the FedEx? Started FedEx or something like that. So you got FedEx and Home Depot trying to take down the Saints every year, and I don't think it's still going to work. But, Dennis Allen, keep him out of the division, but I think he can be a good head coach someday.
Justin, it's Falcons week. Shanley has a spring in his step, I can tell right now. He's excited. He's pumped up.
All Atlanta Falcons fans – they didn't show up to the game. First of all, I watched the game, and there were a lot of red seats. They need to start putting tarps in that dome because it's embarrassing. So now they're all Braves fans, I guess.
Right.
Come on, Shanley. We've known it's a baseball city for years. It's always been.
It's a sports city when the team decides to win every 10 years.
Yes, that's right. I was trying to think of a 28-3 joke with the Braves win, and I was looking up numbers. I just couldn't come up with it, Shanley, at all.
It's the joke that never gets old. It never gets old because my two favorite Super Bowls, ours obviously, and the New England Patriots beating the Falcons. So I have a hard time with hating Brady, even though he's in the division and he won a Super Bowl last year, because he did us, as Saints fans, he did us a huge favor by coming back 28-3. Could you imagine how different our lives would be had the Atlanta Falcons had a ring as well and won a Super Bowl? So we owe Tom Brady.
Well, you know what? I remember talking to you about this afterwards, after the Bucs won a year ago. And the Saints obviously take pride in having one, but they don't want anybody in the division having more. So, you credit Tom Brady for winning and preventing Atlanta, but boy, he helped the Bucs get two. And that kind of hurts too a little bit, right?
It does. And that's why I didn't want to see them win it last year, because you don't want to see another team in the division have more rings. But it's if it means that the Buccaneers get another ring that everybody will forget about in 15 years, and it means that the Atlanta Falcons can't win a Super Bowl or won't win a Super Bowl, I'll take what he did in New England against Atlanta.
Or if it means they have to get Tom Brady to do it and bring along his pack of Bradyites, that the Bucs were a shell of their former selves before Tom Brady came to town. Not that we're bitter or anything. We're not. We're moving on here. Let's talk about the Saints quarterback situation. I'm going to go this week after we get off the podcast here. I think I'm going to copyright TNT, Taysom and Trevor, and start selling T-shirts outside the Superdome, because we could see a lot of that, Shanley, in the next couple of weeks. First of all, who do you think is going to start? I mean, we got to see how Taysom is. Serious situation with his concussion. I personally, have believed in Taysom more than you and Justin, and I've been wrong repeatedly, and I'll admit it. But I still have a glimmer of hope. I will say this, though. I think if Taysom is healthy, he will be the starter. But it's going to be an interesting decision for Sean Payton.
It is going to be an interesting decision, and I think that's the frustrating part is this Saints defense is a good enough caliber to win a Super Bowl. But there's also a lot of people who will say, well, when Drew Brees had the offense rolling, the defense wasn't good enough, so we've just kind of flipped the script on who's responsible for us not getting back to the Super Bowl. I don't know how you win a Super Bowl with the current quarterback options on the roster, and I think Taysom, I've said, isn't really a quarterback. He's going to play a lot more quarterback, and I could see him becoming the quarterback because he's familiar with the offense. He can get in and out of audibles at the line of scrimmage. So we're certainly going to see more quarterback from him. But offensively, it's just going to be the same formula we've seen. You got to run the ball, don't turn it over, and let the defense. Don't put our defense in bad positions. Allow them to take control of the game, and offensively, just don't mess it up. It's a huge reversal from what we've been used to, but that's how this team is going to win games.
All right. If Taysom's healthy, though, Sean Payton well. Take me into the unbelievable mind of one Sean Payton. What's he thinking this week if he has them both? Is he kind of a little giddy because Taysom is his next Steve Young project, but he also likes Trevor because he's the guy that can adapt to anything? What's he thinking going into this?
I do think you're a little bit right about that because this is a guy, Taysom Hill is a guy who Sean Payton said there's a little Steve Young in him. He can play quarterback in this league. And there are a lot of doubters out there who watched him throw the ball in about 4 games and said there's absolutely no way that he can do this as a quarterback every week. That's where I was last year anyway. And so now he has the table is set. What do you want me to do? Play Trevor Simeon, who got ran out of Denver? Or do you want me to play this Taysom Hill guy who's been a really good player for us? So he's got every excuse now to roll at Taysom Hill and just let him go out there. And it's going to be hard for people to convince him otherwise that Taysom Hill is not the guy to play quarterback.
All right, before we get to Jameis, Trevor Simeon, I know he's a veteran, man, but the guy's played 1 game since 2017. I think he's had 7 attempts. I don't care who you are, Shanley. You're not getting reps with the ones during the week. How impressed were you with him and what he did?
Yeah, Mike, that was going to be the point I went to is you don't realize they came off a Monday Night Football game in Seattle, so automatically you have a short week. You're playing the best team you've played outside of Green Bay week 1. Tom Brady, who's been rolling, coming into town. Trevor Simeon was probably getting all the practice squad reps. He was running Tampa Bay's offense, first and foremost. He got no reps with the number 1. So for him to come in the game and manage it the way he did, not cost the Saints the game. That was the key. Come in the game, just manage the game. He threw the ball to the tight ends about as much as we've seen all year. He got the ball in the checkdowns. He just made enough plays so that the offense could be successful. And I was really impressed with that. It is extremely hard not to be the guy all week in practice on a short week and then come in an NFL game after a number of years where you haven't been a starter. So he did a really good job.
I asked Sean Payton after the game about it and brought up that number since 2017, how many games he's played. And Payton smiled. He went old school on us, man. He compared him to Ty Detmer back in the day, a steady quarterback. But, talking to Trevor after the game, we had him one-on-one on Your View coming up. That's a programming note. We're not on CST anymore. We've transferred to Your View, so check us out digitally moving forward here. But talking to him after the game, it was kind of like, yeah, that was great, man. But it was just a consummate veteran take to it. Like, you know what? That's my job. I got to be ready. And he was happy, but he wasn't overjoyed. I mean, that's what you like to see from a veteran like that.
Yeah. I think you heard Coach Payton talk about his personality and how he's never too high, never too low. And a lot of times Coach Payton would always say, we're going to keep the right 53, not the best 53. So maybe there are more talented quarterbacks out there. Maybe there is. But Coach Payton's going to find the personalities he likes and what he thinks can fit in best when they are called upon. And that personality obviously serves Trevor Simeon well. He must have had a good camp. He's done the right things for the coaches to trust him to be in that spot on the roster. Because like I said, everybody wants you to go out and get go get Cam Newton. He's been an MVP in the league. Go get this guy. Go get this guy. I wanted them to go get Drew Brees out of the studio, yank him back for half a season and see what he can do. Phillip Rivers wants to come play quarterback for the Saints. So the fact that Coach Payton believes that he has the best option available in the building, I'll trust it until I see otherwise.
Hey, Shanley, Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl, just saying.
I know, with the greatest defense ever to play. I love our defense, but listen, hey, Ray Lewis, Peter Boulware, McCall, you go down the list of guys that defense had. They were pretty phenomenal.
I'm just thinking right now, how many guys on this current Saints defense could play and start on that defense right now? Probably DeMario. DeMario could start.
DeMario and Ray Lewis inside would have been a pretty formidable bunch.
Lattimore
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Cam Jordan.
Yeah. So maybe three guys.
I think probably those 3 guys, yeah.
They probably take Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and put him in a trash can because he talked too much. All I love Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, by the way. We're going to get to him in the defense. I love what he said about Tom Brady's interception this week. I want to ask you about that. Before we get to the defense, though, I want to ask you about Jameis Winston. Sean Payton was real emotional, said he cried when he saw him afterwards. And, they've worked together very closely the last year and a half. I don't know what this means for Jameis Winston. I think you look at it two ways. Jameis showed this year that he has changed, and he could cut down the interceptions, and he can manage games better. But also, boy, he was on his way to really elevating his game. And a year from now, you don't know what the quarterback situation is going to be in terms of who they can get or who they like down the stretch. So what do you think of Jameis, moving forward now after he recovers from this knee injury?
Yeah, it's unfortunate for Jameis because we don't know what he could have looked like with a number of games under his belt. It was kind of split. People thought he was too conservative. People were scared he was going to turn the ball over. But we saw Jameis mature, I think, more as a leader. Obviously loved in the locker room. You saw all the guys go over and get with him right away, and they were extremely disappointed that he wasn't going to be able to play this season out. So there's a lot of guys that love him. I'm sure there's guys in the organization that love him. But are you willing to give somebody a long-term deal coming off an ACL injury? Or maybe it's going to be a one-year deal. It's probably going to be a one-year deal. And I just don't know what the options are for this organization, because do you trust Ian Book, who we haven't even seen very much, and he's a rookie, you drafted him. So anytime you draft a player, you think they're going to be a part of your future. Or are they going to go out and get Aaron Rodgers in the offseason or make a big splash trade? I think a lot of fans and a lot of people are going to prefer that route, because this was supposed to be the year where we judged Jameis Winston, where we all were either going to feel really good about him being the franchise quarterback or uncomfortable with it. And I just don't know if you can start over and do this another year and give him another chance and have fans be okay with it.
What do you think of this, though? Can it benefit the Saints? Because if Jameis would have tore it up in the second half of the year, obviously his price is going up. But now it's more manageable, and they know what they have. Could that help them financially if they want to keep him? That kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a really good way to look at it too, especially because we know the Saints and the cap every year is an issue. So essentially, if you're having cap problems again, you could keep together the same team at the exact price. Quarterback position, you're not paying Jameis $20 to $30 million because he tore it up, and now you have to cut a bunch of people. So yeah, you could probably run this team back one more time, but I think a lot of Saints fans' preferences are going to be to go out there and get a home run at the quarterback position, because we just don't know what Jameis can do.
All right, let's jump to the defensive side of the ball. I love asking you this question, and I don't know if you love me asking this question. We've talked about this early in the year. I've seen some media people say this could be the best defense of the Sean Payton era, and I think you've remarked to me, if memory serves, is if that's the case, they got to score more on defense. Well, they did that when it counted against the Bucs. Are you thinking that this has potential to be the best, or has that opinion changed, Scott Shanley, over the last couple of weeks?
No, they have the potential to be. You're saying the Sean Payton era?
Yeah, Sean
right.
Payton era.
We're not going dome patrol.
No,
I don't want to take. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I definitely think they do, because the pressure is on them. The pressure has been said. Like, people are saying, you guys are going to be the reason you win or lose every week. And so if they can continue to play like this with that type of pressure, I think that alone would give them the edge in being the best Saints defense under the Sean Payton, because they have players everywhere. Stay healthy. They give the greatest quarterback ever to play the game fits, and there's a possibility they're going to run into him in the playoffs again. They're going to run into Green Bay. They're going to run into probably Dallas. So there's about 3 games left on the schedule, Mike, where I will judge this defense and how far they can take us. And that is the Buffalo Bills, that's the Dallas Cowboys, and that's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Those 3 games will give us a good idea how far this defense can take us in the playoffs. Right. And that how far we go in the playoffs will set in stone what this defense is.
Isn't it amazing, though? Because really, I mean, the people who know this team know the defense is great, and people who cover the league. But I think there's a big perception of the New Orleans Saints still, and for good reason. When you think of the team, you think of Drew Brees, you think of Sean Payton, you think of all the records. But boy, this defense has been around for a while now, and it's been carrying this team for a while, really since the reemergence of the Saints post-2017. I mean, this isn't new news, Shanley.
Yeah, it's for sure not new news. As long as Drew Brees was always saying set hut, the attention was going to be on the offensive side of the ball. So I think now they're deservingly so getting more attention because Drew's not there. But you're right. This transformation started in 2017. They were a really good defense that year. 2018 and 2019, and even last year, they've been a really good defense for a really long time. The problem is when you play really good defense, a lot of fans, a lot of people, they don't care. Defense to them is boring. It's about what you do in the playoff games. And unfortunately for this team, they have not taken the ball away enough. They have not finished games in the playoffs. So everybody forgets about all those other regular season dominant performances.
You played defense for a long time. You had a long football career at every level. What is it like when you play defense and you kind of not carry the team, but you got to step it up because that offense is in a different situation at quarterback? And I'm amazed at the wide receiver position when you look at it. I mean, Marquez Callaway is the leading wide receiver. Now, Kamara's the leading receiver, but he's the leading wide receiver, and he's 108th in the NFL in catches. I mean, this team is not at full strength. We'll get to Michael Thomas in a little bit too, obviously. But, what's it like if you play defense and you got to step it up like that?
It's fun. It really is. You walk around with a little bit of swagger. You walk around with your shoulders rolled back and your head you're the reason more than likely that you're going to win or lose every week. And it's a lot of fun when the fans place that expectation on you because you're a great unit. Now, here's the part it's not fun, Mike, is if you don't have an offense that plays complementary football to you. If you have an offense who thinks they're something they're not, and they go out there and they're flinging the ball around, going 3 and out, turning the ball over, putting you in bad positions, I don't care how good you are. It is hard to defend short fields over and over and over again. So that's where complementary football really gives you a chance to be an even better defense. And I'm not saying the Saints defense isn't a great or one of the best in the Sean Payton era, but you also have to realize they're not throwing the ball around all around the lot. They're not getting ahead by 20, and now you're giving up a bunch of garbage yards on defense because you're playing 2-minute defense. And offensively, they're running the ball. They're shortening the game. This defense doesn't play the same amount of plays or possessions that we played when Drew was there running and gunning up and down the field, stopping the clock because they were throwing the ball 40 times a game.
Let me ask you this, though. This podcast is so chock full of unbelievable topics. We're just getting to Michael Thomas now. We kept hearing Michael Thomas 2 weeks. Now we know he's out for the year. What is your reaction to this? Have we seen the last of Michael Thomas in a Saints uniform?
Mike, when this news first came out, I was mad. I was disappointed in Mike. Like, this was a guy I've defended over the past year because I've seen what he's done in this league. I think he is still the competitor we saw before he got paid and injured. And I thought, oh, here we go again. This is another BS story. Mike just doesn't want to play. But everything changed for me when I saw Sean Payton talk about the injury. And when his demeanor was, we're disappointed because Mike's been working really hard. He was so close. He had a setback. Those 3 things, for me, I'm like, okay, I'm good. He was really trying to get back. He was really working hard. That trust has been reestablished in the organization. It's just very unfortunate, and it's unforeseen. So I'm disappointed for Mike. I'm disappointed for this team because this team needs him. Where I am still mad at Mike is this. Return a call in March. Don't ghost the organization. And if you don't do that and you get the surgery in March or April, maybe that setback happens in June and you're coming back right now. So that's where my anger still lies with Mike. But it does sound like, on all accounts, he was trying to get back and trying to be a contributor to this team.
The fight he had with C.J. Garner-Johnson, and it's, a lot of animosity it seemed like Michael Thomas had with a lot of people within the organization. But the bottom line, Shanley, this guy has basically missed 2 years of his prime. He's got the big contract, but I wonder mentally if he has changed now that, hey, I got to change, man. I got to change things the way I approach it. Now, I wonder if that has happened with him at all. I'm just curious about that.
Well, that's why I was so excited about getting him back on the field. I wanted to see Mike get back on the field, and I could have told you within 2 series if that Mike Thomas was coming back or not. We all hope to see that same Mike Thomas. And that, just like we talked about Jameis coming back, and do you give Jameis another chance? Mike's in the same boat now.
Yeah.
Like, do you wait another year to pay a guy a lot of money to see if he's that same Mike Thomas? It's going to be an interesting offseason as far as who's coming back, who's going, who's going to be the quarterback, who's going to be the number 1 wide receiver. And both with Jameis and Mike, I can't say for certain that both of them are going to be back.
You feel for anybody who gets hurt. But, boy, you wonder if they could have traded Mike Thomas back in April. They could have gotten a ton for him. You would have thought. I mean, people do their due diligence, man. But, it's easy for me to say that now. But I think about that. I've thought about that the last couple of months with Thomas. What could they have gotten for him,
I agree 100%, especially when Urban Meyer had just went to Jacksonville. You probably could have plucked a player off Jacksonville, sent him to Urban Meyer, brought in a good starting player, and got some draft picks out of it. But, again, the injuries change everything. Players valued you don't have much value when you're hurt. But to go back to this trade deadline, there were rumors about trading for Odell Beckham, and they just couldn't work out the money because Odell's owed $8 million still this year. It's a lot of money to pay a guy. And then he's got 2 years after this deal. If I'm Cleveland, this is my personal opinion, I'm not cutting Odell Beckham. I'm saying I will take your injured Mike Thomas for Odell Beckham and whatever else we got to do. So I'm surprised Cleveland didn't do that.
Hot take by Shanley. I like that. Excellent. Speaking of Beckham, we're going to get to him in just a second. A little foreshadowing for more likely coming up. All right, before we get to more likely, let's talk about your Atlanta Falcons, I say with tongue in cheek here. This is a struggling football team. And you know what's funny is I was watching that Panthers-Falcons game before the Bucs-Saints game last week, and I promptly took a nap for about an hour because that was some really bad football that I was watching. And it's definitely a case of the haves and have-nots in the NFC South for sure. Falcons are just not any good. They're not. And you know what? I mean, they're, to me, I like Terry Fontenot, but he can't, build Rome in a day. But, Taysom beat the Falcons a year ago, Shanley. What do you see from this Falcons team that concerns you at all heading into the Superdome? Could this be a letdown game after that emotional game a week ago?
Initially, Mike, I thought, man, this might be a trap game. You just beat Tampa Bay. Everybody's telling you how great you are. You're uncertain at the quarterback position. I don't think this is a trap game. I watched the same game you watched, and Atlanta is bad. They're just bad. They don't even have – in the past, we could say they're bad, but they have good players. We could say they had Julio Jones. We could say they had this guy or this guy. They have a couple good players. Like Deion Jones, you got to watch out for on defense. Kyle Pitts, you got to watch out for on offense. But that's it. Like, they're playing – this is why I don't think it's a trap game. They're playing a freaking wide receiver, kick returner at running back. A guy who's like, what is his 10th year, Cordell Patterson, but all of a sudden they're like, hey, we have no options at running back. You have to be our running back. They're just making things up as they go. I don't think this is a trap game. I don't even know if Atlanta's going to score double digits against the Saints defense. They just look bad.
We'll get to the predictions in just a second. Yeah, I was surprised Felipe Franks is playing, tight end receiver for those guys. Coming out of the huddle. I mean, you got two former, Gator players. One's a quarterback, one's a tight end, and Kyle Pitts. I mean, I don't know, just it's different in Atlanta than, like you said, we've seen over the past couple of years. Well, Justin, speaking of different, you know what time it is. More likely, baby, and more likely we bring back Justin Thomas. We have Scott Shanley, and we're going to answer 3 hypothetical questions. Number 1, Shanley's already touched on these guys. But if you could give the New Orleans Saints, with no cap implications, one of these players moving forward the rest of the season, would it be Phillip Rivers or would it be Odell Beckham Jr.? How about that?
Just one of those two?
Just one. You can only pick one. Yes.
I should have said just those 2 options. I think you take Odell Beckham Jr. I don't know. I mean, I didn't watch many games last year when Phillip Rivers was in, but I don't think he has anything left in the tank. I'd rather have a wide receiver who definitely has potential still, who could help us immediately, than pick up a QB who's going to have to learn the system, who was struggling mightily last I watched him play. I think to me, it seems like a no-brainer.
Interesting. Shanley, who would you pick?
It's for this year only, right?
Yes.
Like, you don't get
yeah.
To me, it's Phillip Rivers.
Really?
Because I think what's Odell going to play for one game before he gets a new injury? He's always hurt. We watched Phillip Rivers play a playoff game with a torn ACL. He will finish the season. He was a quarterback that wasn't hurt very often. And he did. The Colts, I think, were 11-5 in his last year, and he threw for 4,000 yards. So, I'm going with Phillip Rivers because I could become public enemy number 1 with this statement, but the Saints are not winning a Super Bowl with Taysom Hill or Simeon. It's just not going to happen. You said Trent Dilfer. Trent Dilfer was a better quarterback than both these guys. So I think they need a quarterback to win a Super Bowl. And for me, if Phillip Rivers wants to play and learn the offense for 2 weeks, I'm going out and getting Phillip Rivers.
Justin, Shanley's always good, but I wish, the Saints play the Falcons every week. We got hot takes aplenty in this podcast, man. Left, right, every direction.
They're going to hang my picture up in the locker room.
I got a couple things. Phillip Rivers, to me, is the no-brainer because I don't Sean Payton's such a locker room character guy, and I know he's he's made it work with some that, haven't had the great pass, but it's not often. And Odell Beckham Jr. to me is so talented, but it's telling to me what he's been in Cleveland. And sometimes with guys, there's one bad situation, but everywhere that guy goes, it seems to be there's a problem, there's drama, there's chaos. It's not good. And him at his best, even, I think I would take Phillip Rivers, because I think, they're going to get healthier at wide receiver. They're not going to have Michael Thomas. But, Deontay Harris, I think, will get better and better. I think Traquan will be – I know these aren't all pros we're talking about, but I still think this young receiving core will get better. So I would rather have a quarterback who has been proven in the league and can get it done. How about this what if – and this is what I love about podcasts. What would Breeze feel like if Phillip Rivers led the Saints to the Super Bowl?
Oh, wow. Yeah, think about that. Hey, Drew, we gave you every opportunity.
Oh, my God.
But, yeah, wouldn't that be something? Phillip Rivers comes to the Saints and wins a Super Bowl.
And Breeze,
wow.
Breeze is always classy, but he would be I know Breeze's tense smile, and he'd be on NBC with Tirico. Hey, Mike, or hey, Drew, I think it's appropriate. You were former teammates with Phillip, but why don't you help him with the Lombardi Trophy right here?
Oh, wow.
Oh, God.
that image in my head is kind of cringeworthy. Like, it's like, I didn't really think about that angle of it. But, yeah, to me, listen, Odell Beckham, that's why I asked you, Mike, is it a one-year thing? Because if you said it's for the next 2 or 3 years, I think I would go with Odell because we don't know what Michael Thomas can be. But I would just read you a couple stats from Phillip Rivers. He retired after he threw the ball 543 times in Indy. He had a 68% completion percentage, 4,200 yards, 24 TDs, 11 interceptions.
Wow.
I mean, that's pretty good for an old man.
Yeah. Is he a Hall of Famer?
I think he is going to be a Hall of Famer just because when you look at his numbers, and I know the game's changed, but he was automatic for 4,000 yards a year. His numbers are going to put him in the Hall of Fame. I know he didn't win a championship, and he had a couple of teams in San Diego that he probably should have won or went to a Super Bowl with. But when you look at his numbers are pretty phenomenal. A lot of it is because he was available. He was never hurt.
All right, let's bring the conversation full circle. That means he and Breeze will go in together.
I don't know. First ballot Hall of Famer? No.
Okay.
He won't be a first ballot.
Yeah, I don't think about first ballot either. All right, second more likely. We're just getting over Halloween. So who scares you the most in the NFC out of these? And you can add one, but I'm not sure you will. The Packers, who the Saints owned in week 1, but have not lost since. The Rams, the Cowboys, the Arizona, and those defending champions who went down in New Orleans last week, the Bucs. Who scares you the most, Justin? The Packers, the Rams, the Cowboys, the Bucs, or the Arizona Cardinals?
I will say, coming into the season before it started, the Cowboys didn't scare me at all, and they're starting to look really impressive. I wouldn't be surprised if Cowboys make a late run. I think, even though the Packers are really good, I'm going to stick with my Super Bowl. I believe I picked them to go to the Super Bowl before the season started. I'm going to go with the Rams. They just traded for Von Miller.
They're all in, baby.
Defensive line, that defensive line is going to be insane. They are already, I think, one of the best offenses in the league. Maybe the Bucs might be better. I really like the team, and like you said, Mike, they're all in. I mean, they've literally given away all their future draft picks, next couple of years. I'm going to go with the Rams. I think they are the scariest. But I tell you what, some of those other teams you mentioned have really good chances as well.
I hope our friends at DraftKings have noticed what a stellar NFL analyst Justin Thomas has turned into over his last couple of years on this podcast. Yeah, let's see what Shanley thinks, and I'll give my take here. What do you think? Who are you scared of?
Justin, who was your NFC pick to go to the Super Bowl?
I picked the Rams and the Bills.
Wow. Dang, you were all over. That's pretty impressive. And then you were jumping up and down when the Von Miller trade happened, I'm sure. Gosh, Michael, you're listing those teams, and I'm sitting there making a case for all of them. Yeah. And what it made me realize is the NFC is loaded.
Yes.
I mean, you didn't even mention, like, Tampa Bay, the Rams, the Cowboys, the Packers. Mm-hmm. It is loaded. And when you think about what team you'd rather face or what team you don't want to face, who the scariest team is out of all those, geez, I think the way this team matches up, I'm just thinking about matchups. I'm going to go with –
it's tough.
The Cowboys. I'm going with the Cowboys.
Ooh, Shanley. Really?
Ooh. Yeah, and the reason I say the Cowboys is because Matthew Stafford, I don't trust him.
Yeah.
He's never won anything. What's their running game going to be like in the playoffs? So I started thinking about quarterback paired with running backs. And it makes me think that Dak with Elliott and Pollard, who are a good 1 and 2 combo, but their skill on the outside, like they have CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper. Yeah. They have tons of skill on the outside that would give this Saints defense a little more trouble. And their defense is really good as well. The Diggs kid, the corner, he might be the best corner in the league right now.
Interesting. Yeah, I agree. The NFC is loaded. It's amazing to me, though. I look at Matthew Stafford. I'm happy for him. I am. He's a guy that got a second chance, got to show what he's all about. We'll see where that takes him. It made me think, what if Barry Sanders would have gotten that shot? Late in his career, how he would have thrived. Let's say the Cowboys picked up Barry Sanders or the Niners or somebody like that. That would have been interesting. I'm going to surprise you guys. I'm going to say the Packers. Even though Rodgers is having his issues right now, I think this is a team that was much better. I don't know what the heck happened in week number 1. But how do you feel about the Packers, Shanley? Because I think they're a really good football team. And I don't know what happened in week 1, but it's amazing what's happened since.
Yeah, I wanted to say Packers. They're my NFC pick. Remember, I picked them before week 1. And I'm still going to stay with them just because as long as they have Aaron Rodgers and Devonta Adams, I think they have a chance to win every week. But I just think the matchup with the Cowboys is harder for the Saints team. I really think the Packers, week 1, they got shocked. They got surprised. They got surprised at how good this Saints team is. And the Saints hit them in the mouth. And what that did is it woke them up right away. And it was probably the best thing that happened to the Packers because they've been playing really good football. They were shorthanded last week at wide receiver position. They go to undefeated Arizona, pull out that game on Thursday Night Football, which was a great game. So Green Bay, as long as Aaron Rodgers is there, they have a chance to beat anybody.
Absolutely. All right. Number 3, we usually like to kind of go off the board, have a little fun here. The Bucs situation was interesting in Raymond James Stadium in Tampa a few weeks ago. Tom Brady throws career touchdown pass 600 to Mike Evans, and everybody, it seemed, in the building knew it was a milestone except Mike Evans, and the guy he threw the football to in the stands won Byron Kennedy, a doctor in Tampa. Okay, he catches the ball. This isn't baseball, man. You don't catch foul balls in the NFL, man. It's lucky if you get a football. Not to mention the 600th touchdown pass to Tom Brady's career. So he's celebrating. The Bucs quickly come up and say, we need that back. We would like to have that back. Can we please have that back? Byron Kennedy gave it back. I'm going to ask you guys, would you have given the football back? Because there's a big controversy over this. I will start with you, Justin Thomas.
Is this give it back with no strings attached or with strings attached?
Well, there's always strings attached, but some people just would keep the ball and probably try to. Obviously, the value is going to escalate. Strings attached, I'll throw that on there because you know that the team's going to give you something. They're not.
And that's the other thing. The guy gave it back without knowing he was going to get anything.
Yeah.
So that's what you're. If we were in that situation, what would we have done?
Yeah, that's better. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Yes. You guys always edit me. I appreciate that. Thank you.
That would be tough. I think, I think of it like if I was a Saints fan, I had caught that ball or got that ball that Drew threw for 600. That would be tough.
Would you run out of the Superdome and just?
Yeah, really. I think I would. I mean, I probably wouldn't want to have the fans all booing at me the rest of the game. I wouldn't be on the Jumbotron nonstop. I at the end of the day, though, I think both the fan and the organization, I think they did what was best for both. I mean, he got a ton of stuff, a lot of merch, and I'm sure he's happy now. And it looks good for the organization to have, done that for him, to give him something for giving the ball back. But I think in that moment, not knowing if I would have got anything, I probably still would have given the ball back.
Shanley, what would you have done?
I think it depends what side of the fence you're on. If you are the opposing fan,
that's a great point. Yep.
Why give it back? If I'm a Saints fan sitting in the front row and they hand me Tom Brady's ball, I'm tucking that thing under my shirt and leaving the stadium. Like, appreciate it.
That surprises me. Wow.
No, I think a lot of people would do that, but I tell you what, nice guys can finish first, and this guy got more press and more time by doing the right thing and giving the ball back, and is beloved by so many people for doing that, especially Tampa Bay fans. I think it was the right move, and I think it shows other people in the future that they'll probably do it as well because it'll be the right move. Otherwise, if you're the guy who keeps it and doesn't give it back, now you're all over social media. as the a-hole who didn't give the ball back. And for years, they're constantly tracking you down,
Right.
like, where's the ball now? Heckling
Exactly.
you outside your home. So the best thing to do in that situation is give the ball back.
I think we're in the minority. I think most people would keep it, or definitely try to negotiate more than Byron Kennedy did. I would have done the Byron Kennedy route. I would have, unlike Byron, I would have known it was 600, and I would have said, "Hey, here's my conversation. Hey, we need the ball back." Yeah, absolutely. But I get to meet Tom afterwards, right? I get a jersey. We're going to talk about things from the team. Oh, absolutely. But I mean, it's not like you can have a lawyer sitting next to you and write it all out right there. But that would have been enough for me. It would have, because here's my thing, and I may be an idiot with this, whatever. I've been an idiot before in this podcast. If I get $1 million, I don't know, man. I mean, what am I, a millionaire because Tom Brady threw a football and I happen to catch it? It just feels weird to me. And if it doesn't feel like it's my football, I feel like that guy's had the best career of any quarterback in NFL history. I owe it to him. He deserved that football. I want to give it to him, and I don't want to profit from it. It just feels shady. It feels weird. I look back at this when Mark McGwire hit his 70th home run. I don't know if you guys know the story. I did some research on this because I teach a college class, and I had Byron Kennedy actually come to my class. But I asked him about this. When Mark McGwire hit his 70th home run, a guy caught it, and baseball's different because foul balls fly into the stands so many times. The Cardinals came to him, and he said, "Listen," they said, we're gonna give you a jersey. We're going to give you an autographed ball and an autographed bat." And the guy said, "Listen, I just want to meet Mark." Like, he wasn't even really negotiating that hard. And they said, "Mark doesn't want to meet you." And that was obviously pre-COVID and everything. And so he said, "Okay, the hell with you guys." And he sold it for $3 million.
Oh, wow.
How about that?
Maybe now I'm going to change my answer.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to convince people into being the nice guy.
Yeah.
For $3 million.
How did McGwire not meet him? I asked Byron Kennedy, "Have you met Tom Brady?" He said, "With COVID, I can't meet Tom Brady." He hasn't talked to Tom Brady, but his dream, and he's just kind of having fun with this, but he kind of hopes it happens. He wants to play golf when all this protocol bans have been lifted and stuff. So we'll see if that happens. But he showed me the jersey Brady got him, and Brady actually signed one for his buddy that brought him to the game, and Gronk gave him game-worn – actually, Mike Evans gave him game-worn cleats that still had dirt in them and a jersey, and he's gotten 2 season tickets and $1,000 at the gift store, and that would have been enough for me anyway. So
not $3 million.
$3 million's a lot. $3 million's a lot. Yeah. It just feels cheap, man. Tom Brady's had such a damn good career. I don't know.
Or you could take the other side and say, "I know it's your 600 ball, but who cares? You got so many records. Is this really more important than all those rings you have?" I'm keeping this thing.
Right. And Tom Brady said he hadn't kept much, but he wanted to keep that one, which I found kind of interesting too. Okay, let's get into predictions. It's amazing to me, guys. This Saints team, they're 5-2, right? Is that correct? 5-2? Yes. Okay, 5-2. And this shows you how crazy the NFL schedule is, because we're knowledgeable about the Saints, but our records, we missed a couple weeks because we've had some obligations, so we're back. But our overall records, Justin's 1-4, Shanley's 2-3, and I'm 1-4. It just shows you how you can't predict an NFL schedule going into a season, and really week to week, and that's how the Saints have been this year. But I need your predictions on the Falcons. Shanley's got a 1-game lead. We got to bounce back, Justin.
Well, I just want to say, Mike, all the times that we've unanimously picked them to win, they lost.
Yes.
And the 2 times one of us didn't pick them to win, the Saints won.
Just
you and I were the first 2, so it's Scott's duty this time to pick them to lose. But
he'll never do that this week.
No, yeah, this week you can't do it. I've been thinking about this back and forth. Is this a trap game? Is it not? I agree with Scott. I don't think it is. I just don't see enough talent on this Falcons team to surprise him. I do think the Falcons go in the double digits, but I still think the Saints kind of keep the ball rolling. I'm going to go 24-13. Saints win.
All right, 24-13 says Justin. It's amazing our records given the Saints' success this year. You feel like we're predicting games for the Jacksonville Jaguars or something. All right, Shanley, what do you got? I know who you have to win, but I'll be interested to take your take on the score.
Yeah, well, I think I can probably safely say we're all going to pick the Saints to beat Atlanta.
You're safe.
I don't think Mike's going to go rogue on us.
No, I'm not.
But
No.
maybe in honor of DraftKings, we should go by the spread this week since it's 7 points.
Ooh.
How about we do that moving forward for our new sponsor? We should do that. Let's do that.
Because the weeks where we're all unanimous on it, maybe we should throw the spread in there.
Let's do that. An ode to DraftKings, our brand new sponsor. We'll go by the spread. So, Justin, do you want to change your pick? Actually, obviously, you don't with 24-13.
He likes it. He likes Saints
Yeah.
to cover it.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm going to cover it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I agree with Justin. I think the Saints are going to cover too. I think they're going to do just enough offensively, but I think the defense is going to smother Atlanta's offense, and that's where the spread's going to cover in. I think it's going to be Saints 24, Atlanta 10.
24-10. Interesting. All right, with the new dynamic with the spread, I had 24-17, but I think the Saints will definitely cover in this game.
So we're all picking the Saints to get 24. Am I correct? We all picked 24.
We did, but I got to change it now because I think they're going to cover. So I'm going to say 27-17 Saints.
What?
Wait, I like how you give the Falcons more.
Well, how is Atlanta going to score 17 points?
Something's going to happen with the quarterback.
Well, here's the other thing.
There's going to be a 6 or something. That's how they're going to score.
Well, this is in the mind of a bettor. We're thankful for DraftKings because now instead of thinking about spread, you go over under, which is 41.5 points total. And the Saints, I think every week are in the low 40s on over under, which is absolutely phenomenal because it was not that long ago where the Saints would get 40 points on their own against Atlanta.
Yeah.
DraftKings is going to love Shanley for all these free plugs here. This is excellent. It's a good marketing on your part. All right, so you're going to stick with 24-13, Justin. Shanley, you have 24-10. I have 27-17. That's correct.
All right.
Okay. All right, Justin, where are we on Twitter?
At Dundad Podcast.
Okay, and we are on all the platforms. We're on Stitcher, we're on Spotify, we're on iTunes, anywhere there are podcasts. And let's give a shout out to our new sponsor once again. DraftKings Sportsbook is coming to Louisiana. It won't be long until you can bet on all your favorite sports teams from the comfort of your own home. And to celebrate, DraftKings Sportsbook is giving customers $100 in free bets when you sign up before they go live. And our call right here on our podcast, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the code DUNDATPODCAST when you sign up. Those who sign up right now will get $100 in free bets to use once the mobile sports betting hits Louisiana. So that's a great deal. That's code DUNDATPODCAST to get $100 in free bets instantly only at DraftKings Sportsbook. So we appreciate DraftKings, our sponsor. I think I agree with Shanley. We do odds now at the second half of the season for the New Orleans Saints. Maybe we'll throw in some over-under too because that's always fun as well to kind of spice it up because we're close in these picks. So for Justin Thomas and Scott Shanley, I am merely Mike Neighbors. We'll see how the Saints-Falcons plays out and talk to you next week.